where our big focus is getting our team up to speed is we've kind of agreed that before we all suddenly had to go remote last Monday, that we doubled down on our commitment to each other, that it didn't matter if we weren't going to be face-to-face, that if we had meetings or we turned to Zoom, that we were always going to start cameras up.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it felt small in the moment, but it really has been significant that it's holding everyone accountable for waking up and getting going, but it's also letting our team have fun and have that continuity and that banter that you lose when you just do audio. Our organization has turned to Zoom for quite a long time, but it's always been audio Zooms, never face-to-face. And we didn't want to lose that personal connection that we had established. So we also agreed as a team that we were going to do stand-up and sit-down meetings. Normally we do stand-up meetings every day in person and look at all of our projects and the deliverables and what's on our hot list, but we didn't want to lose that end of day continuity as well. So we called them sit-down meetings. And those are our way to like summarize, like, what did we do today? What did we learn? That's a lot of the emphasis is, what did you learn today? And it's been anything from how to use Microsoft Teams of like some new tool or trick, or, I learned that I need to buy a desk. So it's balancing that personal and that work, that there's so much uncertainty, but we know that one thing that is certain is our commitment to each other. And so that framework of bookending the day has been really helpful. Keeping my team up to speed, we do a lot of, we used to do walking Wednesdays. So every Wednesday we would walk somewhere on campus to go get lunch. Well, okay, we can't do that right now, but we could do coffee meetings or, so we've started doing some of those, like, hey, in the middle of the day, let's all just grab our coffee or our tea and jump on Zoom for 15 minutes and just enjoy that beverage. Our team also has like funky traditions, like on Wednesdays we wear pink.
Why?
Girls. Just like we have a bunch of millennials and they like the movie Mean Girls. And that's one of the jokes that, on Wednesdays we wear pink and you're not wearing pink, so you can't sit with us. It's a stupid team joke, but like we're keeping it running in Zoom. And so everyone on Wednesday was wearing pink. And it was funny that, we just kept that tradition going. And that's kind of our big thing is this isn't normal and we don't want to call it getting back to normal. It's just embracing the uncertainty and trying to have fun with each other. I think on Thursday, we all changed our Zoom backgrounds to a throwback thing. We're like, let's celebrate Throwback Thursday.
Oh yeah.
And then on Friday, in the office, we normally wear school spirit gear on Friday. So we did virtual backgrounds with something Virginia Tech in the background and wore our gear. So it's trying to find those traditions that we do and just do them in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, you've been a fun follow on LinkedIn. I get the team update every day, and I saw your happy hour on Friday. We did the same thing, and we wound down with a rock paper scissors tournament virtually, which was pretty fun. You put everybody in the gallery view, and you can really have fun with it.
That is fun.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, and that's just we're keeping it as lighthearted as we can. I know today we're gonna do a Brady Bunch photo at our sit down. So that was today's theme. So we're excited about that.
No, that's awesome. How are you keeping your team in the loop, from the institution? As the team lead, how are you making sure they know what they need to know and keeping that flow of information going?
So we're lucky that Virginia Tech already does for all of our faculty and staff, there's a VT daily that comes out every morning. And so it's a tool that we've always had, but our team has never really taken the time to read it every morning. And so that's become part of our new stand-up culture is, that email comes at 5:11 every morning, read through that. And then at stand-up, we ask if there's any questions or anything that's come up from the VT daily that we didn't know. And I also use that as an opportunity to relay key things that are in there. Like the team didn't know that commencement had gotten canceled or was moved online. And so I'm using that daily as another way to refresh, what are the key things that we all need to know about through that. I have daily check-ins I report to our chief operating officer. So every day I'm checking with her on what's changed. Is there anything else this team of humans needs to know, so that at the start of every day, they've got what's changed in the last 24 hours. And then as a director, all of our directors are meeting. Our goal is that as a director team, we're meeting weekly or every other week to get updates from our senior leadership team. And so those have kind of been the key elements to keep us all in the loop of what's changing, because sometimes it's changing hourly, and that's just how it's going to be. And that's part of why we added the stand up and sit down, so that we know we've got 2 touches. So if something changes midday, I know I've got an opportunity at the end of the day to loop my team back in.
No, I think that especially now that we're all remote, like the more open communication we can have, even if we're, having fun or it's just an informal check-in, the better off the organization is going to be. Yeah. We're in the midst of heading into what would have been the home stretch, or the, final few months of the annual fund. And, I know you had a giving day planned, correct? And so where do you stand with your previous fundraising plan, and how are you moving forward right
now? Everything's up in the air, and that's good. It's good in the sense that it'll allow us to really refocus on what are the things we can do right now to set us up for fiscal 21. That there are a couple projects that have been on our list for a long time, like how do we launch a more all-encompassing sustaining donor program rather than just as a payment method. And how can the other big project is how do we design a better anniversary kind of milestone program for our donors when you either just right before you lapse off, or after you've had 10 or 20 or even 3 years of consecutive giving. So really those 2 projects are what I'm having my team focus on right now, because our leadership is just in hold mode, that there are so many things that need to be coming from the university voice and university leadership that I don't want to have my team focus on fundraising right now, because I don't know when we're going to be ready to start fundraising. And that was kind of a key lesson from last week, that if we're focusing on anything on fiscal 20 right now, it's only going to frustrate my team more if they invest all this time and ideas and then we have to sidetrack it or say we can't. So at least this week, the theme for this week is let's focus on a couple things for next fiscal year, and then see what the landscape looks like at the end of the week. In regards to Giving Day, we as a team last week mourned Giving Day on the 18th and 19th. We just needed to accept as a team that we knew we were going to hit our goals after Giving Day. And that was really hard for the team to swallow, that without Giving Day, we don't know that we're going to hit our 17% alumni giving goal. And we just needed that kumbaya moment to be it's out of our hands, and it's okay that we're not going to hit that goal. We're all too type A to not do our best once we can start fundraising again. But we had to take that moment and just say it's too uncertain right now to do anything for fiscal 20, and we'll take it week by week.
Yeah. So right now things are on hold. You pulled Giving Day, paused solicitations. I imagine print, had the printer stop. Who knows if they're even up and running anyway. But I like that advice, focus on the long-term, long lead projects that maybe, because, annual giving is such a, I'm going to say grind. I don't mean it's a grind, it's grinding you down, but it's it's so intense, throughout the year, pausing and reassessing and thinking okay, what's going to set us up for the most success. I love the, especially that reoccurring gifts type of program, knowing you have that baseline of participation, that baseline of revenue. I'm a huge unabashed supporter of Charity Water. And
I love their stuff.
Yeah. Have you read Scott Harrison's book, their founder's book?
I've read chunks of it. It's been going around our leadership team. Cool. So we love their program.
Yeah. Well worth a read. And about 2/3 of the way through, he talks about launching the spring, their recurring gifts
Yep.
program. So for anyone
Mhm.
who's in, annual giving, like that is a phenomenal resource to just like copy and
Yep.
steal some great ideas. So pausing future solicitation. So yeah, I love thinking about those programs that are going to be really big drivers in the future. I mean, do you
Yep.
see, like, is your team doing, stewardship or any kind of like, one to many types of outreach right now?
So all of our gift officers it's not one to many yet.
Mhm.
Last week we really focused on for those mid-tier and above. So our people giving above $10,000 who are assigned, and having everybody go through their portfolios and say, who are the people that I'm closest to? Who do I have active solicitations for? And then there was like one or two other buckets of like really trying to categorize all of our portfolio so that
Mhm.
gift officers could start not necessarily reaching out to donors about those open solicitations, but just making them feel good and feel connected and giving them that insider perspective that
Yeah. Yeah.
we know that our mass numbers may not be there this year, but we want to make sure the people that are already close to us feel like those insiders that they are, and keep them close to us,
Mhm.
because we're going to need that revenue in the long term. And not keeping a donor, like if you don't have a $10,000 donor that's close, and you're not keeping them close to you, like you've hurt yourself in the future. And that's where we really focus of like our mid to upper part of the pyramid of keep those people close, make them sure they're okay. And now this week, now that we've kind of gotten through that project, now we're starting to tackle what are we going to do in the middle of the pyramid for those 500 to 10, 500 to $9,999
Mhm.
donors,
Mhm.
and how can we do that on a mass level? We don't have that answer, but we've got a kind of cross-functional team that we stood up end of last week to start thinking about how do we tackle that from a donor relations, prospect management, annual giving, and then just leadership gift officers, and letting those kind of four groups come together to make a recommendation. We're kind of just in a hold and wait pattern with our university leadership, that there are communications that have to go out about incident management,
Mhm.
and we don't know when we're going to be able to communicate with that, because we just have to time everything so correctly. So a lot of this week is let's come up with some strategies and ideas and get that in front of our leadership, so when we do say go, we're ready
Yeah.
to start doing that on the mass level.
Yeah. I mean, I like that working group of trying to figure out,
Mhm.
so definitely got the one-on-one outreach at the top, then,
Yep.
mid-level giving, that's gonna be a lot harder to do one-on-one outreach. I mean, it's more
Yep.
feasible like nowadays with, all these digital channels, but like still requires a lot of coordination and the right tools and the right messaging. But then,
Yep.
also making sure you're not crossing streams or getting in the way of university-wide communication.
Yep. Yeah. And then we also layer on top of that with, we've got to figure out, all of this is happening right as our athletics football program usually their deadline is March 30th. Well, that's not going to happen this year. So we're working even more closely than we do on a day-to-day with our athletics team to figure out, okay, your new deadline is April 30th. How do we, as an advancement group, also help you reach out to those donors who have either already renewed to make them feel good, or they haven't gotten in their philanthropic gift? And how do we help support you probably after this week, kind of get that gift in? That's probably, as an organization, how we're going to pivot into resoliciting first, or pivot back into solicitations, is helping our athletics part of our organization get those gifts in, because that's a lot of outstanding revenue, and a lot of outstanding donors, and we really need, of everything we have outstanding, like we really need that scholarship money to come in for our athletics teams. So that's kind of how we think we'll pivot back into
Mm.
solicitations.
And I mean, when you think about like the vehicles for doing that, what
Mhm.
are some of the ideas you're thinking about? Like, is it terms of like, because you can't share like a live update from the field because there are no updates. So like, how are you gonna get those student stories out?
We're thinking about that right now. We're looking at tools we already have, and that's kind of part of this week, is just assessing what's our technology that we have right now, and are there aspects of technology that we have that we're not fully utilizing, and seeing through that, can we get some student stories? We've got our student alumni ambassadors, which are the 100 most spirited Hokies, and now they're all over the country. So how do we tap into that group who is already close to us and is probably willing to share stories? So that's kind of we know the group, but we haven't figured out quite what's the right technology for getting their stories. Because that's, when we come back to that from an annual giving standpoint, we got to put the human first, that it's all about people and faces, and that's going to be more important than it ever was before. So just trying to be mindful that we're not going to rush to get back into the solicitation game. And like, it just, yes, there's a lot of people doing emergency funds right now, but we want to be able to put a face to it and tell that story. Like, we have an emergency fund. We've always had an emergency fund. And yes, we're using it so much faster than we ever have before, but we want to be really mindful and intentional of how are we telling that story while also making that ask. And we don't want to rush to do it incorrectly.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's time to be extra thoughtful. But I also, I mean, I love what you said about, putting faces to those stories, like making sure that like it's the people who are direct recipients of that type of support, telling the story and asking for it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to have a lot of folks in annual giving, asking, I mean, they already are asking questions. When do we start resoliciting? Should we just stop? Are we done for the year? Like, what do we do right now? What's your number one piece of advice for other folks running other programs?
Do whatever pick a couple of projects for fiscal 21 that you can get a jump start on, that now is the perfect time to start thinking about a couple of things for next year that you can jump start on. And then my team is, next week, we're going to jump back in and figure out how do we optimize the rest of fiscal 20. That it's not, we haven't lost this fiscal year. There are still 3 months left. We don't know what the world's going to look like tomorrow or in 2 weeks. So it's not solicitations as usual, but it's what are some tactics that we can get ourselves ready for, that if we need them, we can rapidly deploy. And if we don't need them, we hold them for the future. That a smart shop should still keep planning on what are some things we can do throughout the rest of the fiscal year.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing. I know like this is all, we're making plans as each day hits, but I appreciate you taking the time.